who would Shaq be if he had your work ethic?
He'd be the greatest of all time.
What is up, guys? It's me, Lod, and I'm coming to you with another video for the Harsh Truths channel. Don't have the big headphones on because I don't have to listen to anyone else today. So usually when we do our episodes, we'll have me and Bobby, or Bobby and I, that's proper grammar right there. We'll usually have both of us popping up on the video. That's when you'll see me with the big headphones and everything, and like it'll be a longer video. But today's gonna be a little bit different. I decided that throughout the week, Bobby and I will probably be uploading some random videos discussing certain topics that go on during the week that are a little bit smaller and don't really need a full-on episode or video for, and that are going to be 5 to 10 minute type of topics, and that maybe sometimes one of us will talk about depending on our availability during the week. But today I thought, since Bobby's at work right now, I thought why not talk about this topic that popped up in the sports world today. And this one has to do with, as you guys probably saw in the clip that I put before this, it has to do with the Shaq and Kobe thing, where Kobe says Shaq could have been the greatest of all time if he had Kobe's work ethic. And on top of that, Kobe would have had 12 championships if Shaq would have had his work ethic. Now, one of the things that I want to start off bringing up is Kobe says he would have had 12 championships, but I don't think his legacy would have been the same. He would have been looked at more as a Pippen than a Kobe, if that was the case. If he truly believes that Shaq would have been this monster of a player, which he already was, and had the great work ethic, and would have just, carried the Lakers team to 12 championships, in a row or whatever it may be, then Kobe would not be remembered as the player he is today. Kobe built his legacy, a lot of it, because he was able to succeed when Shaq left. Kobe's legacy was a little bit in jeopardy when Shaq left, and he was not able to win it for the first couple of years. But then, he had the team going with Powell, and he was able to lead that team. So then, at that point, it was made clear that Kobe can lead a team on his own. So if that never happened, if Shaq never left, then it would have always been seen as Shaq being the one that carried the Lakers team, and Kobe would not get the credit he has today for being that great of a player. Even though recently I've noticed that a lot of people have been discrediting Kobe a lot. But, that's aside from the point. I just decided to, make this video a little more fun, not too serious. I popped up some stats, of people who, I guess, arguably would be in the GOAT conversation and are great centers of all time. And, of course, Michael Jordan pops up, and then Kareem pops up, and then Shaq pops up. I didn't want to put Kobe on there because I was really thinking about it, but I felt like their stats kind of intertwine a little bit. They played with each other and stuff like that, and I think it would get complicated a little bit further down the line when I tried to, predict Shaq's future stats and what he would have had if he had Kobe's quote-unquote work ethic. But before I actually go into these stats that I pulled up from these guys, these are very basic stats, by the way. I also want to say, would it have been possible for Shaq to even have Kobe's work ethic? Because I do think that Shaq, in his mind, believes that he's this great, hard-working basketball player. And in his eyes, he gave it his all. But in Kobe's eyes, of course, he doesn't see it that way because Kobe has that Mamba mentality. So it's a very complicated type of thing to say about someone and really analyze and really be like, yeah, that's true. Because in Shaq's eyes, he probably saw himself as this dominant force that did everything he could have possibly done in his control. Because I think mentality and mental strength plays a big role in this. And that's what Kobe, I think, is trying to get into, is that maybe even if Shaq did not have that mental strength that Kobe had and that discipline, then maybe if he had that, then if Shaq had that, then he would have been a greater player. Even though Shaq already, looking at these stats, Shaq already implements himself as one of the greatest of all time. I don't see Shaq as the greatest of all time currently, but you gotta say the man was a dominant force unlike any other in the league. I'm not bringing up Wilt Chamberlain. I made sure to make a comment about this because of the fact that Wilt Chamberlain was playing during a time and was dominating during a time where I feel like the numbers are too hard to compare. So I don't want to include him in this. That's why I mainly chose Kareem, because I felt like Kareem was a little bit closer in Shaq's time, and it was a little bit easier to compare. Even though some of these awards, some of this stuff just didn't even happen during Kareem's time. But, let's get right into it. Now let's compare All-Stars down the way. Shaq had 15 All-Star appearances. Kareem had 19 All-Star appearances. Jordan had 14 All-Star appearances. And LeBron has 15 All-Star appearances. Probably going to have a couple more on his list. Now, this question is in terms of longevity. If Shaq was able to be that physically disciplined of a player, then he would have had a better longevity. And that's seen in Kareem. So I kind of feel like Shaq's updated stats, if he had that longevity, because, it's hard being a 7-footer. 7'1". I don't know exactly what Shaq's height was, but it's hard being a big dude with a lot of weight and just maintaining your health in general, regardless of how hard you try. That's a lot of weight you're pushing up and down the court every night. So I feel like a lot of these numbers would be bumped up to Kareem's numbers if Shaq had that mentality that Kobe was talking about. So I think 15 All-Star appearances maybe would have bumped up to 19. And then championships, we have Shaq's 4, the 3 with the Lakers and the 1 with the Miami Heat. Got Kareem has 6, Jordan has 6, LeBron has 3. Now, in context, LeBron's gets a little difficult because he was 3-6 for championships, and Shaq has more. And I don't know what Shaq's record was in the finals exactly, but 3-6 kind of. It's kind of what people bring up a lot about LeBron, but the context is like, a lot of those losses came to a Golden State team, which you can argue is one of the best teams in NBA history, and he just kind of got unlucky. I think LeBron's legacy was a little bit unlucky in that sense, and that's why he can't out-jump Jordan yet. Even though, some people might say he is better than Jordan. I'm not saying my opinion yet. I'm not saying Jordan's better. I'm not saying LeBron's better. I'm going to keep out of that for now. But then we got All-Star MVPs. I did not find anything for Kareem about this, so I'm assuming that there was no All-Star MVPs during his time. But Shaq 3, Jordan 3, LeBron 3. Not too crazy of a thing to, accomplishment, but, it is what it is. It's cool. It's just a cool award to have. Now, this is where I noticed Shaq was a little bit different from the rest. Shaq has 1 league MVP. I think this number would have been a good amount higher if he had better longevity and had the same work ethic as Kobe. If he had that work ethic like Kobe, where he came into gym every day and came prepared and had everything going, I think he would have had much more league MVPs. I also think he deserved more, regardless of how he, regardless of his work ethic. I haven't looked into his work ethic during those times, or not work ethic, but I haven't really looked into how his season statistics was during seasons where he did not get MVP and in comparison to those who did. But, I think he deserves some more MVPs regardless of his work ethic. And with work ethic, that number probably would have gone up. He has 2-time scoring awards. Kareem has 2 also. Jordan has 10. LeBron has 1. LeBron, you don't really have to put into this conversation because he's not mainly a scorer, and the league has gone super dominantly scoring. You got James Harden chucking up 40 points a night sometimes. So, it's a little bit, he's not really a score first type of player. Kareem and Shaq, you could also make the same argument, not really score first type of players, even though they scored, but they weren't like the Jordans or the Kobes of the world, where they were just scoring and just racking up points on the board, or James Harden. Those are scorers, as I see. But Shaq and Kareem were scorers in the sense of being a center. But that's whatever. And then 14 All-NBA teams for Shaq, 15 for Kareem, 11 for Jordan, 15 for LeBron. Well, Jordan, he could argue that if he played more, if he did not take his retirement the first time, then it could have been possible for him to have more. Most likely. Now, 3 finals MVPs for Shaq, 2 for Kareem, 6 for Jordan, 3 for LeBron. This kind of hurt Shaq a little bit because he got 3 of his 4. But here's the thing. It wouldn't have been out of 4 because this was something I was thinking about. Shaq left the Lakers and ended up on the Miami Heat and got his 4th championship there, where Dwayne Wade got MVP of the finals. Now, I don't think Shaq would have left the Lakers if he had a better mentality and had Kobe's mindset, because Kobe would not have started feuding with him because he would have had nothing to feud about. He literally, a lot of his head clashing with Shaq was because of the fact that he felt that Shaq was being lazy and he was getting on him for that. And Shaq was getting mad at Kobe because he felt like he wasn't being a team player. And there was a lot of other stuff. It's way more than that. But regardless of that, I see that Shaq would have been on the Lakers for a lot longer term. And even regardless of work ethic, I do think this team, the Kobe and Shaq Lakers team, they could have lasted a lot longer regardless of Shaq's work ethic. But, egos started clashing and they got a lot out of it regardless. Now, here's the other thing. Kobe's argument that 12 championships would have happened. Is that even a possibility? Because think of it this way. Everyone thought a team like the Golden State Warriors would win every single season. They had their hiccup against the Cavs, lost to them. They had their hiccup this last season due to injuries against the Raptors and lost against them as well. Those are 2 seasons where everyone would have argued that the Warriors would have won those championships for sure. But, the thing is, that's what happens. Hiccups happen. And that's not something you can predict. Now, to say that they would have gotten 12 championships is kind of absurd. That's very difficult to do. They would have been winning from 2000 to 2012. That's a decade of winning if they were to do it consecutively. And it's even more difficult probably not to do it consecutively if Kobe was saying that maybe Shaq would have won 1 in Orlando or, but that changes the whole dynamic of the league. A lot of the things that Shaq was dominating in might have changed and might have changed his legacy. But, in theory, yes, I agree. I agree that Shaq could have been winning more championships. Don't think about the number 12. I do think it would probably be around 6 to 7. And I think he would have about 6 to 7 finals MVPs in that case. Kobe's legacy would have gone lower. Then on top of that, I do think there would have been a debate on who would have been the greatest of all time between Shaq and Jordan. And that debate would actually have a lot more backing to it because now you got a lot better of a Shaq out of this. I do think that if Shaq had this mentality, yeah, he would have been the greatest player of all time in the NBA. Now, I pulled up all-time points leaders as well. Kareem number 1, Kobe number 3, LeBron number 4, Michael number 5, Shaq down at number 8. So, but the thing is, we don't compare players and their greatness based on how many points they have or how many points they've scored, because then no one says Karl Malone's the second greatest player of all time because he's second on the all-time scoring list. Shaq being at 8 already on its own, that's a pretty big accomplishment. Longevity, that's the thing. Who knows? Maybe he would have bumped up all the way to Kareem because Kareem is known as Mr. Longevity. I think a lot of these Shaq stats would have been similar to Kareem stats, probably better because of Shaq's dominance. And I think having Shaq's dominance for a longer term would have won more championships and would have put him at a higher level than Kareem. That's how I want to look at it. But, it's hard to compare against Kareem at the same time because they're also 2 different players. Shaq was a force to be reckoned with, and I think he's being underrated lately, to be honest with you. And I think that's why Kobe needs to bring this up. He brought it up because Shaq's been getting overlooked as one of the greatest centers of all time. And Kobe's been getting underrated lately also because people are saying that he's been overrated. But those are my thoughts. Damn, this was supposed to be a 5 to 10 minute video, but ended up coming out to about 15 minutes now that I look at the camera. But nonetheless, you know, thank you guys for coming to this video on the harsh truths. I might have said hard truths at the beginning of this video. I meant to say harsh truths. So I hope I didn't make that mistake at the beginning of the video. But you know what? I'm going to keep it raw. I'm going to keep it unedited. Unedited. So thank you for coming on for this video on the Harsh Truths YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button. I'll catch you guys later.